so pleased to have Renata Bowers at the table, an author of children's books, which are wonderful.
Thank you.
Frieda B means a lot. How did you come up with it?
I didn't. I have to say that right off the bat. I really have always loved children, and I've always loved to write. And so was dabbling with that just in my free time, and sending the stuff I was writing to a good friend of mine because she had kids and I didn't. And she came up with the idea of a girl named Frieda B who's free to be what she dreams, and that's where it started.
Starting to be an author, having not been an author in the past, where do you begin? You've got an idea, you've got Frieda B, and we'll talk about what that means, but how do you start? How do you formulate? How were the words coming for you?
I think one of the best things about what happened to me is that I didn't start wanting to be an author. I started because I couldn't not write what was in my head. So I didn't start out by saying, gosh, I wonder how I could be an author and strategize that. I was just writing stuff and eventually came across an idea that so resonated with me that what was coming out of my pen, I actually, for the first time, it struck me like, I wonder if this is actually good enough to be published. But it was never, I think that's it. Whatever you're doing, you want it to be, it genuinely strikes you as, wow, I'm pretty good at this. And then it kind of leads you into it.
Midwestern girl, you moved to Houston. That's where you start to write. You write many different things. You were homesick, you were lonely, different world, you start writing. Frieda B also means Frieda B me, about children. You have a larger message, which is what through these books?
That, well, I think that that's what ended up happening when I was in Houston, it was kind of a reality check for myself. I had grown up in Wisconsin and spent my entire childhood and early adult years there, got married, moved to Houston, and suddenly was in a place I wasn't familiar with. And so started the writing process as a self-comfort kind of thing. It's what I knew, it's what I did well, it felt good, it kind of made me giggle. It was a great process. But what I learned from that was the idea that that was something inherent to me, that I was good at, and by delving into it, it made me feel better. It was kind of a fulfillment thing. That in the absence of family and people that I knew well and anything familiar, I could create something from within that felt reassuring. And so Frieda B actually is, I'm kind of the poster child for her, in that what I learned through the process is that you're free to be what you dream, but that has to be inherent to who you are. And so I'm not free to be you. You're not free to be me, but I am free to be the story that's inside me, and that's what I end up teaching when I work with kids, and that's really the underground foundation to all the books.
You've sold about 10,000 books, probably more by now. You've written 4 books, you're working on a 5th book. As you write the story about Frieda B, how is she developing?
It's interesting. It's an interesting question. What I'm finding is that I thought I was the one writing the stories, and what I learn as an author, having gone through this now a number of times, is that I actually quite firmly believe the story already exists, and my job as an author is to find it, as opposed to my job as the author being to create it. She's already out there, and so it's more about every book kind of unveils another layer of her. So while she is this very adventurous, confident, bold girl full of moxie, I mean, she's wonderful, she also has great insecurities. She makes big mistakes. And she's got this amazing companion, Zilla, her dog, who kind of helps even out the bumps. But I really, truly believe that they actually exist, and I just, with each book, continue to reveal them a little bit further.
Tell me about the illustrator.
Oh, he's wonderful. His name is Michael Chesworth. He is the 2nd generation Pippi Longstocking illustrator. So when, and I can't recall the name of that illustrator, but when he passed away, they were looking for another illustrator to kind of up, as they did new editions, new publications. And so they chose Michael. And it's actually how I found him, was I came across an illustration of Pippi. I grew up loving Pippi.
Oh, who didn't?
Right, except I never liked the fact that she didn't have any parent in the house with her. That never sat well with me. So I kind of think, in a way, Frieda's kind of a new generation Pippi with parents. But anyway, but Michael has got, he's so full of integrity when it comes to how he thinks about his work. It is more important for him that he respects the integrity of the child than showing off his talent. And so you'll notice in the books, a lot of his illustrations contain a lot of white space. And that's because he really believes that children need the freedom to be able to fill in. If the illustrations are constantly bombarding you, you're not allowing the child the freedom to interpret the story the way she may like.
You go to schools a lot and you talk to kids. How is this book, how is this series touching children? What are they saying to you?
I was at a school a couple of weeks ago, and you know, a lot of what I do with children is use the books as an opportunity to help them understand they do have a unique story tucked inside them. And what is that story? How do you find that story? And I walk them through the process of, first of all, imagining what are you good at, and then imagining what do I care about. And then I have them bring that together and hold it like this, and I shake it up a little bit. And then I say, what you're holding in your hands right now, nobody in all of time has ever held before, and nobody ever will again. This is the wiring to your own unique story. And if you dream big about what's in there, your story's going to find you, and it'll take you to places you could never imagine. But if I try to be you, or I try to dream over here, I'm wasting my time. And so that's the message, that's the foundational message I bring to kids, is this idea of, you have your own story and it's amazing. I have my own story and it's amazing. And so we're not fighting with one another. We actually can complement one another. And I think that message A is valid. Kids know when you're being honest with them or not. That's a valid message. There's no argument to that. So it resonates with them. It validates their worth. So they begin to think, well, what am I good at? And what do I care about? And that might be the start to figuring out what I'm going to do. And so many times when they leave a presentation, they're happy. So a couple of weeks ago, I had just done this whole presentation with a group of fifth graders, fourth and fifth graders. And this boy was walking past me, and he said, you inspired me. And I said, wow, that's fabulous. Can you tell me, what inspired you? And then I said, well, fill in the blank. I'm free to be blank. And he looked at me and goes, happy.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so it's really is, and honestly, I'll go back to the idea that these stories were meant to be unearthed, and I just get to be the one to do it. But the truth that's in them actually helps kids feel more confident about having an identity and a worth.
The illustrations are beautiful in here and whimsical. Give me a couple of lines from one of the books that resonates with the kids when you go to talk to schools, or perhaps just even resonates with you when you looked back and said, that's pretty good.
Okay. Well, in this book, because that's this is the foundational. Yeah. Yes. So at the close of this book really has spent the majority talking about who Frieda is and what she can do, and that she's free to dream, and kind of dips and bumps through her experiences. But then at the very end, the closing of the book says, Frieda B is a big dreamer, that's certainly true, but the world's biggest dreamer is also in you. All the color and music inside, set it free. Just dream your dreams big and believe they can be. So it's transferring, now you've come to understand who Frieda is. Well, actually, you're not any different. You just have a different story. But everyone has that capability of tapping into the color and music inside them to determine their own unique story.
Are these books taking you to another place than what you thought you would be going to? You're becoming a spokesperson for a lot of things for children. Maybe even anti-bullying and things like that. Where are these books taking you?
I don't know completely. I mean, it really is an adventure on my behalf that I just wake up every day and decide what needs to be done today. But what I see, based on the experience that I'm having with teachers and children and parents, is that there's a lot of hope woven in through them, because
we need that.
Yeah, there's so much potential about, there's conflict in them, but it talks about how to, this story is all about conflict, but it also is about resolution. How do you resolve conflict? So they're tools. I mean, at the end of the day, I really think that even though they're fabulous, really happy, fun, crazy, live out loud, funny picture books, each one is literally a tool for a different life lesson. And that wasn't what I intended. And that's why I said I really, you know, as much as I say, if you dream big and believe in this, your story will find you and you'll simply have to follow it. That's all I'm doing. I didn't set out to write a series of picture books that would be tools for parents and caregivers.
So look what happened.
But look what happened.
Along the way, a little award came your way, the Moonbeam Award.
Yeah.
What does that mean for these books, for you as an author?
It means a lot. It's a national award given, it's an award category specifically for children's books, and it's a national. And so we decided this year to go ahead and submit the series, and actually it ended up taking gold medal for picture book series, which is just, it helps us to gain greater awareness and obviously then help more kids.
The fifth book, another lesson learned in the fifth book?
Yes.
And you're not sure how many books there are going to be?
No, as many as I can write, you know, or when it decides it's done. Right now, I mean, I would love to be able to say I'm going to write 50, but I don't know. When it's complete, it'll be complete. But yeah, this next one, I'm taking kind of a different approach. Usually, I know the title. For instance, like with Frieda B and the Finkeldy Ink, I knew the title, and then I had to figure out what the story was, because I loved saying that, Frieda B and the Finkeldy Ink. And actually, you growing up in Madison, do you know the Finkelday Ink sanitation company?
You know, I do know them.
That's where that came from.
Because you were driving
Because we'd be driving through Madison. That's where my husband grew up. And I would make my kids say it. I'd say it. And they'd say Finkelday Ink.
Do they
and
know
I'd
that?
laugh.
You should call them.
I should call them.
Well, they know now. That's awesome. So see, if you're thinking about writing a book, you just never know where the ideas are going to come
so
from.
So this one definitely was like I came up with a title, and then I had to figure out a whole story around it. The next one that I'm working on...
Love This Moon.
I love that moon. Isn't he sweet?
That is very sweet. And then we should just show the other one.
And Zilla Beast, which is really more about the consequences that loved ones pay when you don't do your due diligence. And like this one, it's endearing.
So number 5.
The number 5, I'm starting more, it's a totally different take, so I can't even tell you, you know, exactly how it's going to work. But I just have this gut sense that this next one should be about gratitude and contentment. I just think kids need to understand that simplicity sometimes is a really wonderful thing. And I don't know how that's going to carry out. I don't know more than that. I've got a lot of different avenues I've been exploring, but I don't know exactly yet where it's going to land.
What's the best advice you can give somebody who thinks they want to write a children's book?
Just write and write and write and write and write, and don't edit yourself. You know, I wrote a lot of stuff that was tailored towards kids before I ever landed on anything, like I said, that was like, I think this could actually be something. Write, and don't write to publish. I think that's the biggest thing. Once you start qualifying why you're writing, the writing changes. It's like anything else. You do it because you love it. If your objective is to publish a book, it might, you know, that's kind of putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
The idea is you do something because you cannot not do it, whether you're paid for it or not. And I could not write these once I got started. And then, you know, because I put my passion into it and I believed in it, it actually ended up becoming something worthy of being published. I think that's the best advice, is don't do something don't jump the gun, you know? Just do it because you love it. Yeah.
Rana Bowers, thank you so much for coming on, bringing Frieda B into children's lives and helping them along the way.
Thank you for having me.
When one listen, who's this girl? Spend all night kissing, and the bubbles right here. Then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked to find myself wishing to find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Need to keep locked in the grocery store of my mind, just to save time. Skip right ahead to the last ride. The harder we look, the less we can see. Don't you know, you know that you need me.